Jerry, I know that you have a long-term friendship and you had a lot of business dealings with Lucky overseas in Japan.
Yeah.
And when I got this piece of memorabilia that we added to our collection here, I noticed at the bottom right-hand side of it that it says that it was from Lucky's collection. And I was curious if you could tell me a little bit about this picture.
Well, it says right there, Powerhouse. Powerhouse was the name of the pool rooms that Lucky owned.
Okay.
He owned a few different rooms in Sendai, Japan, which is kind of northern part of Japan. And it's, for me, this is a very significant part of my career. When I was in California building cues, I just started like 88, 89, really had just started. And there was an exchange student that was from Japan living in the area, going to school, by the name of Yoshi Horigome. And we went to the pool room every day, and so I got to know him. Well, he got the bright idea to start buying a few of my cues and to take them to Japan. He happened to be from Sendai.
Oh, wow.
And he knew Lucky. So the very first cues he took us to Japan, he sold to the most significant collector that Japan's ever seen.
So, Jerry, you literally got lucky.
I got lucky with Lucky.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
When about would you have, time-wise, what would you place that at, about?
Well, I'd probably only been making cues a couple of years, so probably 90.
So around
80, 90, 91, yeah.
And this kid just happened to come over from
Yeah.
Japan that was connected with
student.
Lucky.
And still to this day, Yoshi is a very close friend of mine. Was at his wedding in Japan,
Yeah.
and he actually lives in Indonesia right now, and he's a big auto executive.
I remember you talking about this at your Hall of Fame induction or one of the speeches
Yeah.
with the American Cuemakers Association, because you gave him a lot of credit, because when you look back at your career, that was a monumental moment that opened up a market that ended up being colossal for you.
Yeah, I was the biggest, most popular cue maker in Japan for decades, because part of it was I really worked that market. I mean, I went to Japan, I've been there like 25 times. I went every year for years. And, you know, I started really studying the language, and I knew all the dealers, and I just really worked that market. So much appreciated the Japanese players. And, you know, Japan was such a funny thing. I mean, there's times I literally would just tear up because it was such an emotional experience. We're talking about players that probably, they can't afford a car. They can't afford the parking for a car. You can easily go into Tokyo, you can easily spend $1,500, $1,800 a month just for a parking place.
Wow.
Then having to have a car, insurance, and all that. So these are guys that are taking the train 2 hours back and forth to work every day, and they spend $7,000, $8,000 on a Mcworter cue. They probably financed it. It's so important. It's their like one serious luxury item. And to see how important my work to them. And here's another thing about Japan that so many people don't know. You don't get to play, when you buy a cue, you go to a dealer or something like that, you do not get to hit any balls, because culturally that becomes like a used cue. So they're just picking it up and they don't hit any balls with it. So the reputation of the playability of the cue is critical.
Wow.
Because they have to know that what they're buying, they're really going to like. So their friends and people at the pool room that have a Mcworter cue, and they know that if they really like the way it plays and it's going to be good, they'll go in and lay that kind of money down on a cue. And that, like I say, that's a pride that they have.
So let me ask you this. Okay, so early 90s, right? That's when the, I can't pronounce his name, if you can tell me one more time.
Yoshi Horigome.
Okay, awesome. Yoshi Horigome. And I hope he's watching this, because I know you're really
I'll send it to him. He's a great dude.
Yeah, so you go from Southern California.
Right.
And then obviously once the Lucky connection happens, you land in Japan, right?
Yeah.
What was the whole vibe or the pool scene like compared to Southern California, which was on fire back then, obviously? Here you are in the 90s, you got all these great players, a lot of action. What was the Japanese vibe like? Interesting
question. There was a lot of pool rooms. Pool was really popular. Now, this was the early 90s. In the mid 80s, when The Color of Money came out, is when the pool market really exploded in Japan. So it was maybe slightly declining, but not really. It was still very popular in Japan. So, but here's another critical part, is the exchange rate is critical. Because in the 80s, it took you like 85 yen to buy a $1. So everything to them was cheap, right? So you're talking about a $5,000 cue, they're getting it for $4,000 essentially, or $4,300 based on the exchange rate.
Yeah.
Then as the economy in America and economy in Japan has struggled and changed, right now it takes you 150 yen to buy $1. So now a $5,000 cue is $7,500.
Wow.
So that closed a lot of pool rooms, and it made the high-end cue market just so difficult to reach.
So lastly, in regard to the whole Lucky connection, because we're going to talk about it more during the interview, of course, but did you ever go over there after a period of time and go to like the tournament scene and physically see a bunch of people playing
Oh yeah,
work?
yeah.
Be really cool.
The All Japan tournament happens in Osaka, Japan, and it's in around November every year, and it's been happening forever. And I used to go to that pretty regularly. And there was one main dealer down there. Nisiote was the main dealer, still is, in Osaka area. And I did a lot of business with them over the years. And Lucky was in Sendai, he's still in Sendai. He had pool rooms up there. Lucky actually opened up a brick and mortar store in Tokyo and sold cues. You know, it looked like a gallery. You know, looked like
I've
an art
talked
gallery.
to other people that said that some of the orders that he was making were astronomical in regard to the dollar amounts and stuff. So that was really big for the American cue makers.
Yeah.
For that market to open up. Now, were you one of the first to break open that market, as far as you know, or were some of the people that came before you?
No, there were cue makers. Probably the biggest name is Tad.
Okay.
Tad Cues, Tad Kohara. He was there really early, and he's Japanese, so he was there really early. And Gina Q, and there was a lot of anything that was good cues in America that were popular had a presence in Japan for sure. So they loved America. They still do love American things, and so the introduction of American cues. But so many cues that came and have come and gone. You know. But I was there really working that market. I mean, I studied the language. I knew so many of the people. I was there every year. I was working that market. So I know more about that Japanese market than any of them.
Thanks for clarifying that, and thanks for your information in regard to Lucky. Jerry Mcworter, ladies and gentlemen. You can see the rest of this interview on our YouTube channel, Crossroad Cues, and check us out, of course, at crossroadcues.com. Jerry Mcworter talking about the Powerhouse and Lucky over in Japan and his beautiful collection.